here also is John Janaron, who's going to be talking to us and giving us an update on Viacom and YouTube. Now, this has been a suit that's been a long time in the courts. We got a development today that's going to just send it back to the courts. Why don't you explain what's going on?
That's about right. So the appeals court today sent it back to a lower court and is basically going to have the two sides, argue it out more. And so I suppose we can expect more oral arguments. We've already heard a lot. This case has been going since 2006, and the gist of it is that. Viacom is concerned that what YouTube did in its early years, of streaming video, could basically set a precedent for other companies to do something similar. The companies have been cooperating quite well recently. Yesterday, in fact, I actually wrote a piece about a deal they did for video rentals. But even before that, there have been YouTube channels with other Viacom divisions like Comedy Central, that sort of thing. So they're getting along fine. It's more a question of, do we want this sort of precedent to be out there? Because for quite a while, Viacom alleges YouTube was basically, turning a blind eye to all kinds of stuff, really, flagrant, abuse of their materials.
And what kind of evidence? I'm just curious, what kind of evidence was presented earlier, or was there evidence withheld in earlier litigation that may now surface? This is brought down to a lower court.
I'm not sure about that. I think what they were seeking was a speedy decision, and the judge basically is saying, that's not happening. It's going to be much more lengthy process. Mm-hmm. But the evidence consists of. It's mostly TV shows. Actually, it's a little bit of film, but it's stuff like South Park and that kind of thing. That
The Daily Show.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So, I to be honest, I'm not sure that we can expect brand new arguments to come out. But again, what's interesting here is that Viacom, and by the way, Viacom has a reputation for being rather litigious. The CEO is a lawyer,
A well-paid one.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, sets records. I think they just want to make sure no one else comes and does what YouTube did 5 years ago.
And they're the ones that really keep pushing the lawsuit through. And there's a little bit of a Watergate questions being here of what did Google know and when did they know it in terms of addressing the situation? Because the sides agree and the court agrees that when Google found out or knew about the stuff, they would try to remove it. But there are questions lingering about whether they only did it when they were presented or whether they could have done even more to take it off.
That's a really good point, actually. Back in 2010, there was a ruling in Google and YouTube's favor, and what was cited then was a safe harbor clause. I'm not sure what the specific law is, but basically it said that it's not the company's responsibility to police, what all of its users are doing. If those people are breaking the law, that's the onus is not really on Google to chase after them. So, but now, it looks like it's become much more complicated. So and that's what this case comes down to. It's that specific protection that the safe harbor thing, and the two sides are kind of arguing, why Google may or may not qualify for that sort of protection. So it's that will probably there will probably be more of that, when they go back to court.
Interesting wrinkle, as you wrote about yesterday. You mentioned this earlier. Paramount, which is owned by Viacom, just signed a deal yesterday to distribute some of its studio's content through Google. Right?
Yeah.
So interesting that that's happening just as this lawsuit's being revived.
Well, that was. I think that a lot of people look at this situation and kind of scratch their heads. How are these guys, in this 5-6 year long court battle and also working together? But every other studio every other major studio except for Fox is already doing this. It's tough for these guys, with everything that's happened and the decline in DVD sales, to ignore a potential source of revenue. Mm-hmm. So it's hard. They're not going to do it on principle. Sure, they've got this battle going on, but I guess it shouldn't be a huge surprise. I mean, again, they're already doing stuff with, they were doing like the Comedy Central channel and whatnot before. So,
Real quickly, any idea of when we may get a final resolution in this? We're talking years still?
I mean. Yeah, it's not imminent.
Not
no.
imminent. Well, thanks, John, for coming on and talking to us about it. I'm
Thanks,
sure
John.
you'll be watching as it goes back through the courts.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.